Amba's thirst for revenge. Chapter 6. Amba left the forest and went elsewhere. She performed a terrible penance. She denied herself even the bare necessities and continued her penance. Shanmukha, the son of Lord Shankara, was pleased with her. Shanmukha. You know who Shanmukha is? Son of Lord Shankara. We'll find out.
Shankara means Shiva.
He appeared before her. He gave her a garland of ever fresh lotuses and said, "My child, take this garland with you. The person who wears it around his neck will be the person who will kill Bhishma." Pleased with herself and with the gift of Shanmukha, Amba set out on her quest for revenge. Amba went to all powerful kings of the land and tried to persuade them to take up her cause. They all refused to do it. All of them refused. Even her assurance that the garland given by a god was a sure sign of success was of no avail. Bhishma was so powerful, a personality, that there was not a single Kshatriya who dared to oppose and make an enemy of Bhishma. Amba went to the court of Draupada, the king of Panchalas. She laid the facts before him and asked him to help her. He heard her and said, "I am very sorry to see your plight. If it had not been Bhishma but someone else, I would have championed your cause. But this Bhishma is different. He is a righteous man. I cannot find any cause to fight with him. He is not only powerful, but he is good. I am sorry. I have to refuse you and your request. Go." Amba was desperate. She flung the garland round a pillar in the great hall of Draupada. The king was overcome with consternation. Everyone was afraid of Bhishma. Draupada was upset by this impulsive action of Amba. She left his hall in fury. The garland was there on the pillar. No one dared to touch it, and it was guarded very carefully. Amba went to the forest once again. Her severe penance was resumed. In her heart there was place for only one emotion: hatred. Hatred for Bhishma. She hated Bhishma, and her only desire was to see him dead. Her penance went on for a long time. Finally, Lord Shanmukha appeared before her and said, "Grieve not, my child. In your next birth, you will yourself kill Bhishma." Amba was impatient. She said, "In my next birth, I will not remember my hatred. I have to kill him, but I will not be able to taste the joy of revenge. I must kill him now." Shankara smiled and said, "Do not worry. In your next birth, you will remember every one of your many incidents in this your life. You will be born as a child of the king of the Panchalas, Draupada. You will be a woman first. Later, you will become a man. I assure you that you will have your revenge. You will certainly kill your enemy, Bhishma." Amba built a huge fire and threw herself into it. Later, she was born as a daughter of Draupada. One day, while playing in the hall of the king, Amba saw the garland of lotuses which hung on the pillar. She took it down and placed it around her neck. Draupada, on hearing about this, came running. He was overcome with fear and consternation that she had dared to do such a thing. Amba smiled sincerely at her father and said, "Be not amazed. Father, I have been born as your child for the sole purpose of wearing this garland. You can live in peace and leave the rest to me." She was called Shikande. Dun, dun, dun. Her education was given to her by Drona, not Drone, Drona, who, like the rest of the world, taught that she was a man. Years passed. By the kindness of a yaksha, Amba lost her sex and became a man. She grew up in the house of Draupada and her hatred for Bhishma burning like a torch in her heart. Dum. Chapter 7. Satyavati and Bhishma. Satyavati and Bhishma. The marriage of Vichitravirya with the two princesses Ambika and Ambalika was duly performed. The wives considered themselves to be immensely fortunate in having such a handsome, sweet-natured man for their lord. They lived a very happy life, but not for long. With Bhishma to attend to the affairs of the state, the carefree prince spent all the time in company of his lovely wives. Fate struck again. Young Vichitravirya was found to suffer from the dreadful disease, consumption. Dreadful disease, consumption. Not all the devotion of the people, nor the skill of the best physicians could save him from an early death. Consumption is a disease. Satyavati was stunned by the calamity that had befallen her. The loss of both her sons was too terrible. Too terrible. Satyavati, too terrible. But what hurt her more was the thought that the Kuru house did not have an heir. This was the fact that broke her heart. She spent hours together trying to think of a way to rekindle the flame that was extinguished. She summoned Bhishma to her presence. She said, "Look at me, my son. I have now no hope of happiness. I have now no hope of happiness," says Satyavati. "I lost my beloved lord. He was gathered to his forefathers." Beloved lord, husband, gone to forefathers. "I could bear that he had reached an old age and he followed the rule that old man must die. Chitrangada was killed before I could reconcile myself to the loss that nearly killed me. I find Vichitravirya dead too. The only hope of the Kuru house has been destroyed in the flower of youth. I am desperate. The line must be continued. I have decided on the course of action. I know the way to continue the line of the Kurus. With you rests the task of making the Kuru line live again." Bhishma was surprised. He said, "Mother, how can I, a confirmed bachelor, continue the line?" Satyavati said, "My son Vichitravirya died without leaving a son. His two wives whom you brought for him are still young, with their heart's desires unfulfilled. The only dharma evident to me is this: you must take them and make them mothers of the future scions of the house of Kurus. You must do this for the reason that the lineage must continue. This rule was followed by many of your ancestors. This is the only way. You must take the wives of your brother, and your sons will then be the true descendants of the Kurus. In your solemn duty to do this." Unruffled by this preposterous suggestion, Bhishma answered her patiently. He said, "Mother, because you are overpowered by the grief and shock caused by your sudden losses, you are suggesting these things to me. There is no doubt that a rule like this, like the one you suggest, does exist. I am aware of it. Custom, too, has lent its approval to this rule. But, mother, you are asking me to follow this rule in wrong and improper. You know that I have sworn to forego the throne and married life too. I did it for your sake, and surely you could not have forgotten that. Do you remember the terrible vow I took? I have taken an oath that in this life of mine woman has no place. Now you suggest that I should take the wives of my dead brother. You are indeed very much upset by the death of your beloved Vichitravirya. Else you would not have suggested this to me. I am sorry for you, mother, but please do not ask such a thing of me." Satyavati said, "I remember the oath and the circumstances under which you took the terrible oath. I know too that you did it for the sake of your father and me. But now the circumstances have changed. Devavrata, it was because a son of mine had to be the king that you took the oath. But my sons are now dead. The race threatens to die out. So, as an apadharma, as a desperate cure, as a last resort, I am suggesting this course of action. You must not let the Kuru clan die out. I am your mother. It is your duty to do what pleases me. You must obey me. This is greater dharma than all the oaths you have taken. Bhishma had temper under control till now, but he could not hold out any longer. Perhaps in his mind's eye, the past events came back like a landscape reflected in a drop of a dew. His mother Ganga, his happy boyhood with her in the heavens, his education first in the political science from Brihaspati and Shukra, and then his learning the Vedas and the Vedangas from Vasishtha. Bhishma's mind went now to the days he spent with his guru Bhargava learning archery. His mother had made him learn all this because she wanted him to be a worthy son of the house of Kurus. She wanted him to be the ideal king. She had told him that so often. His mind went to the happy days he spent with his father, 4 years of perfect companionship, that they had been comrades. His father was lost in love of him, and he, in his turn, was devoted to Shantanu. Bhishma had been crowned the Yuvaraja, then out of the air there appeared this Satyavati to please his father and the cupidity of her father. He gave up all that was beautiful in the world. It was then that he, young as he was, became old in a moment, just like that old. Nothing seemed worthwhile since then. He conformed his life to a rigid pattern of black and white. Then came Amba, the crimson thread that shuddered in and out of the black and white fabric he had woven for himself and caused such an havoc. He would not have taken her because he could not. He broke her heart and ruined her womanhood because of the terrible oath he had taken. He had not obeyed his guru Bhargava when he asked him to take Amba, and now after all this, his stepmother commanded him to take the wives of the dead brother. All this anger unleashed itself as he spoke in a voice trembling with flurry. He said, "Mother, you do not know the strength of my mind. You do not know the firmness of my dharma. You do not know me at all. Nothing will make me do what you command me to do. The earth may lose her perfume. Water may lose the sweetness that is part of her. The sun may lose his brilliance, or the moon her snowy coolness. Lord Dharma may abandon his dharma, but I will not swerve from the path of truth. Truth to me is greater than all the promised rewards of heaven. The world may end, but not the strength of my mind. Nothing can move me, not even you, with your power over me as my mother. I once dared to defy my guru for the sake of his oath. I will not be moved by your words. Please desist from this foolish attempt."